A very dangerous campaign of intimidation and harassment may now be about to unfold in the fight over Roe v. Wade, as the radical left looks to target the conservative justices on the Supreme Court after the leaked draft opinion on abortion. And while security fencing is put up around where they work, but not continuing on our southern border, there's that. Now we have just learned there's an increased police presence outside of the justice's home. And here's why. Some left-wing groups are actually directing protesters to show up at the doorsteps of 6, quote, extremist justices, even publishing the street names where they live with their families. And now police are bracing for violence. Emily, it's 2 groups that are pushing people to go to the homes of Supreme Court justices, one called Ruth Sent Us, another called Shut Down D.C. They want a candlelight vigil. Join us to a march to Justice Kavanaugh's and Roberts' homes. Another one urging protesters to go to the homes of the 6 extremist justices. You can't make this up.
No, and my issue with this, in addition to the publishing of their addresses, is that the amplification of that and then the galvanizing of people to show up at their doors, right? You can protest all you want in those public places, but we all remember what happened to federal judge Esther Salas in 2020 when her son was shot dead on their doorstep because of a disgruntled attorney. And I'm not saying that all of these peaceful protesters, that it's an automatic line to violence, but that's the worst case scenario, and no one knows it more than Judge Salas, and that is why she introduced state legislation that would protect judges from having their information doxed, essentially. And there was a federal analog. And at the time, critics said, oh, no, we need to have those publications available because we, quote, need to report by the media on bad actors in the judiciary. Is that what this is? Supreme Court justices who ruled in line with the Constitution that they are all of a sudden bad actors and therefore are held vulnerable to this? And I think the major question as well that needs to be asked is who is funding these groups? Because when they say there's a stipend, who is it? We know that Black Lives Matter is contributing in part and other organizations, but why won't they reveal themselves more fully? And why haven't we heard a condemnation of violence and a securing of peace by groups like We Demand Justice who have been down that road before?
Yeah. And why haven't we heard a condemnation of violence from the White House? Here's Jen Psaki, who won't even condemn the leak. Watch.
Does the White House explicitly condemn this leak?
I don't think we have a particular view on that other than to say that we certainly note the unprecedented nature of it. What we are mindful of, it's up to the Department of Justice to determine what, if any, action they will take.
Meanwhile, Adam Schiff saying, I don't care how the draft leaked, that's a sideshow. Rachel, they won't even condemn the leak.
Of course they won't. They've been fundraising like in record time off of this. Now, don't forget, this is abortion, the abortion rights lobby. This is big business. And so this is what this is about. And by the way, this won't be the first time in U.S. history that people have profited off of deciding who is human enough to enjoy the rights that we all enjoy in the Constitution. They want to blow up the system. And look, abortion is the human rights issue of our time. The pro-life movement, as you know many people, many of the foot soldiers in this movement, they have been toiling patiently within the system, trying to change the culture of life, trying to change the politics behind this issue. And they had a huge win. They had a huge win because they put their trust in a guy that I remember. I got calls from people in the pro-life movement going, how can we trust this guy? Like, you know, this Donald Trump, yeah. He's so, I mean, and they just felt like, you know what, we've tried all the other people. We're going to try Donald Trump. And boy, did he deliver. I never thought this would happen in my lifetime. And so here we are. Again, abortion's not over. It has to go back to the states. But if you look at the pro-life movement, they have been not about blowing up the system. They have been about justice. It is a pro-love movement, and it's a pro-America movement, unlike, I think, what you are seeing on the other side.
I think that's exactly right. You know, Carly, as I watched that clip of Jen Psaki, I couldn't help but think, if I was standing in that position, what the reporters would be asking. There would be a demand. Does President Trump condemn this violence? Does President Trump condemn this march? Does President Trump condemn this leak? In a question where I would dodge the answer, there would be a follow-up.
Oh, without question.
Where are the questions?
Yeah, I think that is a great question, and nobody handled those situations, Kaylee, better than you. The rhetoric over abortion is so inflamed right now. After this draft opinion was leaked, Obama released statement and said, "Today, millions of Americans woke up in fear that their essential freedoms are at risk." Life, liberty, pursuit. I didn't know that. Kamala Harris, what's clear is that opponents of Roe want to punish women and take away their rights. The hysterics here are not based in reality. What Samuel Alito's draft opinion said is that the people should decide how abortion is regulated. That's the most pro-democracy stance ever. And then when it comes to abortion itself, you hear the my body, my choice, overturning Roe would hurt poor women, and then it spins into, well, it's not just about abortion, it's about gay marriage and contraception. The pro-life stance is really simple. All it is yes, but you're killing a baby. And what Roe versus Wade does is it says that you can have an abortion up to 24 weeks. That's 6 months. Have you ever, I know you have, you've seen a 6-month sonogram. You have 10 fingers, 10 toes. You have fingerprints.
You have a baby bump.
You have, the baby already has an identity. Yeah. Cori Bush, who I believe is pro-choice, told this really compelling story once about her birth story. And it was a traumatic experience, and God bless her for going through it. But she had her son at 23 weeks. That was one of the most pro-life stories I have ever heard in my life. So there's a lot of inflamed rhetoric on this. And Rachel, I agree with you. The other side, it's simple. But you're killing a baby. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's well said, Carly. What's not well said is the liberal media talking about the legitimacy of the Supreme Court. Let's listen.
At this point, I think we're all right to question the legitimacy of the court.
We need to be talking about the legitimacy of the court itself.
What does this story mean for the Supreme Court?
Well, I mean, for the Supreme Court, in a word, illegitimacy, Americans will rightly conclude that their voices and their votes no longer matter.
Are these people really a bunch of politicians in robes?
It really is insane that Supreme Court justices can just lie in their job interview without any repercussions.
Decisions about what you can do with your body are now being made by 4 old dudes and a woman who thinks The Handmaid's Tale is a rom-com.
All unwanted children should be allowed to live at the Supreme Court building with those justices, and they should raise every one of those babies. This all started because of this electoral college.
So the lunatic leftist talking heads will blabber. You expect that. Here's what you don't expect. Listen to the White House press secretary on whether they'll accept the legitimacy of the decision.
If the Supreme Court does move to strike down Roe, should Americans be prepared to accept that decision as legitimate, and would President Biden accept that decision as legitimate?
Well, I can't speak for what actions could be possible on the legal front. I would point you to the Department of Justice on that.
It sounds like you're saying then that's a yes, he would consider this a legitimate decision.
Well, there is not even a decision yet. We don't know the validity of we know that this is a leaked document. It is not the final opinion, so I just can't speak to that hypothetically at this point in time. Go ahead.
So they won't accept it,
yeah.
Sounds like.
Democrats got themselves in a big problem this year because, number one, remember it was my body, my choice. And what happened? They said, well, it's no longer your body, your choice because we want to mandate vaccines. Then they said they couldn't decide what a woman was. So I can identify as a woman. So you can't say it's a woman's right to choose anymore because now men can be women. So the only thing left for Democrats to do at this point was to say, OK, we will personally attack the Supreme Court. We will put fear of the life. We're going to endanger their lives, their families' lives. And that's how we win this thing. And I do think there's one important thing here that we're missing. The Democratic Party, there is no distinction now between extremist groups, the Democratic Party, and the actual Democratic Party. There is no difference now between extremist groups and the White House because the White House knew this was going to come down. I believe this was orchestrated from the Supreme Court. I think that they've realized that the only way they can win this country is through actual violence. They don't condemn Black Lives Matter when they're tearing down and torturing cities. They do not believe that there is sanctity, I think, of life anywhere as long as it means they can get whatever they want. So we need to treat the Democratic Party and the White House the way they need to be treated. These are extremists who are saying we will hold you hostage as a country and we will come after you at your homes until we get our way, and we'll silence you online and we will try to put you in jail anywhere we can. That is the Democratic Party. Now let's stop acting like there's a certain section over here. The Democratic Party is running all of this from the very beginning.
Yeah, the pro-abortion extremists who will march to your homes. Meanwhile, the president of the United States says it's the MAGA movement that's extreme.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.